Chapter 2. I do not remember everything about those days in the world in between, or when I lived them. Time is difficult to measure when you are away from Earth, because days and weeks and years hold little matter. It's the learning that's important. I remember too, because your spirit does not change, it does not age, it transforms from light to form to light again. Lydia had explained all that to Ramar. She told him that all the creatures that lived in the world in between were once human beings, most of them just recently. This was not their permanent home, she said. It was just that when a person dies, each may choose to rest here for a while, to think, to dream, to contemplate what they learned on Earth. And one way to learn your lessons well, she told him, was to let your spirit be changed into the form of whatever creature you were like on Earth. You might become a cat. You might become a robin. You might come home as a puma or a peacock or a tapir or a spider. This part of the choice is never yours, Lydia explained. And that is why the lessons are so important. The creature you become is a portrait of your real self, she said. And once you understand it and know its lessons, you bring new growth to your spirit. That is what all of us want to do. It is the greatest purpose for our being. Ramar was not so sure about all that he was learning, especially the part that he heard about death. It sounded frightening and sad, and he did not look forward to it. Will I die when I become a person, he asked, and Lydia told him he would. Everyone who lives on Earth must one day die, she said. But you should not be afraid, because death is just like being born, except in a different direction. You slipped out of your body the way you came in, and soon you are back with us who love you. That is all it ever is. Ramar was satisfied with that, at least for the moment. The truth was, his mind grew weary sometimes from all that he was learning, and now and then some of it spilled from his head to be lost or forgotten, or so it seemed. But all the same, the days went by, or years perhaps, and Ramar and Lydia and the dove who rhymed with love grew closer and closer. They became a trio that thought and moved as one. It appeared as figures in dance. First one would move forward, then the other, weaving a tapestry of love and learning, word by word, thread by thread. It was a marvel to watch them, and all who passed near could feel the warmth that had grown between them, and they shared it too. Ramar was curious about everything, and the more he explored and the more he questioned, the more he wanted to know. Most of all, he wanted to learn more about Earth, where it was, and what it was like to go there. And Lydia knew why. She knew well that each of us grows and magnifies through our experience as a person, not as a spirit. She explained to Ramar that we come to Earth again and again without a memory of the past, so each life is new. You may visit Earth, she said, for 100 lives to learn just one important thing, or you may learn it in a moment and know just as well. There are no rules or measures, and all the choices you make are yours. You are always responsible for what you do, feel, and think, both here and there. Ramar wanted to be born, and the sooner the better. Am I ready now? He asked. Could I go today? Lydia told him that he could if he chose to, but it might be better to learn the reason for his wings before he went to Earth. This might easily affect his choice, she said. The dove who rhymed with love suggested this as well, and Ramar agreed. He decided to wait. There was also the problem of missing his friends should he decide to be born. He would feel sad not to see them. Lydia, Dove. There surely couldn't be no one like them. No one who could love him so much or that he could love too. Lydia understood the feelings because she had known them many times on both sides of life. Each time we are born and each time we die, she explained to Ramar, we leave everyone we love for a little while. It is not long because friendships and families are part of forever, and we stay together from life to life and through all the times in between. and Ramar was comforted by that. He hated to think of life without Lydia and Dove. "You mean you will be born at the same time I am?" Ramar asked. "I cannot say that," Lydia told him. "We cross back and forth at different times, and we look different too. When we return to Earth, in one life you might be a man, in another life a woman. You might choose to be black or white or yellow or red, whatever you choose to be. The important thing is that you need to experience all that life is and all that it can be before your spirit can return to light." "You'll understand more," she continued, "when you talk with the others you see around you, for each has come back with a lesson that all of us can learn from if we take the time to listen." And Ramar was always ready, of course, but he did not know where to start. Lydia laughed and said, "You begin by looking at your feet." So Ramar looked down, but he saw nothing but a small brown rock lying in between his paws, as though someone had thrown it there. "I only see a rock," he replied. "Is this what you mean?" "Look a bit closer," Lydia suggested, and Ramar bent down until his nose touched the top of the stone, and then it moved. Ramar jumped. "It's a turtle," Ramar explained, and indeed it was. It was lying on its back, squirming to turn over, but its feet could not reach the ground. When Ramar saw what was happening, he flipped him shell side up, and the turtle said, "Thank you. I have been lying here for a long, long time," he said, "hoping that someone would come. And I was hungry and thirsty and frightened." And as he spoke, tears welled up in his eyes because he was not used to the kindness or being afraid, even as a person. Ramar knew this pain well. He had never seen a turtle's tears before, or any tears for that matter, but he could feel them. "Please do not cry," he said, touching the turtle gently. "We are all here to help you. My teacher Lydia, my good friend Dove, and my name is Ramar." "I am called Micah," the turtle replied as he spoke. He struggled for the memories that would not come back. He had forgotten who he was, where he had been, and most everything that mattered. Lydia knew the feeling because she had made many journeys from Earth and just awakened in the world in between. "It takes some time to adjust," she said to Micah, "but you will remember things soon. I am sure of that." But Micah was not. He was not sure at all. It seemed he'd been lying in his bed just a few hours earlier, reading a story, and "Yes," he said, "I remember now. My eyes had grown tired, and I shut my book and laid my glasses on the table and turned out the light. Next thing I knew, I was here on my back in your pathway, struggling to turn over." "Your body died," said Lydia. "That is all that happened. The thing to ask yourself now is, why did you live on Earth, and what did you learn from your life?" It all came back to Micah as Lydia spoke. A detail here, a memory there, his mother's face, a friend he knew in school, the dog his grandpa gave him for his 14th birthday. It all seemed so distant now, just images and moments from a half-forgotten dream. He spoke of what he remembered, the good times and those that were not so good. The truth is that Micah had been a prideful man, strong and independent. "I never asked for help from anyone," he said, still proudly, "and never gave any either. I lived my life as I wanted to live, beholden to no one." "What about your family?" asked Ramar. "Do you not miss them, and wish they were here with us now?" "I did not have a family," Micah answered. "Only my parents when I was small." "Did you have friends?" asked Lydia. "People who you loved? They can be family too, you know. Closer sometimes than any other." Micah answered that he did not have time for friends, and that he always worked and kept to himself. "I stayed out of everybody's business," he said, "and they stayed out of mine, and that is the way that I liked it." Ramar moved closer because the tears in Micah's eyes had not gone away. Most of all, Ramar had sensed a loneliness about him, as though an empty spot lived in his turtle heart that nothing had ever touched or filled, not love or friendship or anything. Ramar wanted to fill it and take the hurt away. Lydia said that in leaving his body on Earth, Micah had taken the form of a turtle, so that he would remember the need of his spirit is to touch and merge with others, And that is true for all of us, she said, whether we are on this side of life or that one. Lydia reminded Micah that during his time as a person, he had built a shell around himself, and he had not let others touch him, and he had not touched them, and never had shared his dreams or his thoughts or his hurts he felt. He had never asked for help either, not once, from anyone, even when he needed someone to care. Lydia explained everything as best she could. She said that as the years went by, Micah did not change. His invisible shell grew thicker and thicker until finally no one could see the person inside. Neither Micah, the man, nor his lonely spot. That is what happened, said Lydia. Micah's shell became thicker and harder and his lonely spot bigger until the day he died. And that was just today, she said, before they found him. The dove who rhymed with love understood too, and after a couple practice circles, he landed squarely on Micah's back and pecked on his shell as hard as he could. It's like a rock, he told Ramar. Come feel for yourself. But Ramar felt awkward, and he stayed beside Lydia, not moving. It's all right, said Micah. You can touch me if you want to. And his voice was soft with feeling. So Ramar touched him, and when he did, he felt a tremor that shivered through his body like a sudden chill. But it was not a chill. It was electric. It touched him everywhere, and his mind, and his feet, and his ears, all in the very same instant. The other sensed it too. It seemed to Dove and Lydia that just for a second, a shimmer of blue had passed through Ramar's wings when he touched Micah's shell. They could not be sure because it happened too fast, and light can play tricks on your eyes. They knew, even in the world in between. They looked at one another, and then to Ramar. Ramar was different, it seemed. Not in an outward way, or in any form that either friend could describe to each other. It was something they only sensed and knew to be true, intuitively. The truth is that in touching Micah's shell, Ramar immediately understood everything it meant, and the knowledge changed him. He knew the strongest need he would ever feel in his body or spirit would be to touch and merge with others, to live in a oneness with everything around him, on earth, in the world in between, wherever he may go, or in whatever form he might exist. He had learned the feeling of this already from his time in the meadow, but what he felt now was stronger and deeper because he had touched with Micah. And Micah's lesson was one he would never forget. Life is for reaching out to others, said Ramar aloud, and for sharing what we are. Is that the lesson that Micah lived to learn? It is something for all of us to learn, said Lydia, because we all build shells around ourselves in one way or another. And while we needn't share everything we are and feel, we need the thoughts and ideas of others to help us grow, just as we need Micah and Micah needs us. And love, explained Dove, joining in. When we live without love, we live without everything, and that hurts most of all. So the day passed as the four of them sat down in the pathway and shared what they thought and felt in their hearts, their dreams and ideas, their hopes and disappointments, and, except for Ramar, memories they carried from their days on earth. It was a time of learning, it was a time of love, and Micah's lonely spot that he had hidden for so long became smaller and smaller until it was gone.